Why exactly is Appalachia one of the poorest regions in America? It's a question that throughout the decades, many have sought an explanation for, resulting in many different models of why Appalachia charts so high on American poverty indexes. Maybe it's the coal industry, maybe it's out-of-state corporate interests, or maybe it's just the way things have always been. Roger May, a photographer interviewing for Nat Geo, says that if you Google war on poverty, you'll be inundated with images of Appalachia. There are all these photos that circulated in the late 60s that were used to illustrate the need in pockets of Appalachia. I think they somehow went on to visually define an entire region, however unfair that may be. And they were perpetuated by these other stereotypes, collar dwellers and moonshiners. Photographs came flooding in, showing broken down cars and rail-thin kids out gathering coal by hand. I'm in no way saying these things didn't happen, or they weren't true at some level. It's just that when Life magazine in January of 1964 published a 12-page spread on eastern Kentucky, it was pretty heavily embellished with pictures of extreme poverty. As Life put it to the magazine readers in January 1964, in a lonely valley in eastern Kentucky, in the heart of the mountainous region called Appalachia, live an impoverished people, whose plight has long been ignored by affluent America. Their homes are shacks without plumbing or sanitation. Their landscape is a man-made desolation of corrugated hills and hollows, laced with polluted streams.
That's me and Jack Rose. We're loading on 1,200. We're filling the mining cars. Each car held 12 tons.
The people themselves, often disease-ridden and unschooled, are without jobs and even without hope. Government relief and handouts of surplus food have sustained them on a bare subsistence level for so many years that idleness and relief are now their accepted way of life. At the time, Life was arguably the most influential weekly magazine in the country, making this take from them very popular at the time for explaining Appalachian poverty. Since then, of course, many new theories have been formulated that don't involve perpetuating stereotypes. So here are the three main theories that I'll cover in this video. Theory 1, the culture of poverty. Theory 2, the mono-economy. And Theory 3, so-called critical theories of Appalachia and the internal colony model. One of the oldest and most controversial explanations for Appalachia's underdevelopment is what scholars call the culture of poverty. Developed in the 1960s when social scientists wanted to explain the, quote, dysfunctional customs of millions of Appalachian migrants flooding America's cities. The culture of poverty theory holds that Appalachian culture, with its fatalistic outlook and encouragement of laziness, is ill-suited to the modern economy. Under the theory, the solution to Appalachia's poverty is simple. To change the mountains is to change the mountain personality. Another popular explanation of Appalachian underdevelopment is what is called the resource curse, or the idea that places with a lot of natural resources are likely to become poorer because resource industries like coal mining dominate the local economy and prevent other economic sectors from growing. Under this theory, nature doomed Appalachia with abundant coal and timber resources to be a place of rich land, poor people.
All of this wealth is being generated here. Why is this town a ghost town?
When I was a kid, I was 12 years old. You couldn't find a place to park in Whitesville. It was a festive atmosphere. There were 2 theaters. There was a bowling alley. There were 2 or 3 major grocery stores, 2 drugstores, hardware stores. Every building was taken. It was a very brisk economy. And people flocked to Whitesville on the weekends. It was a festive mode. And that was when there was a union. When Massey came in and took the union out, you just saw this town just go to shit.
Although the culture of poverty and resource curse explanations provide very different stories for why Appalachia is poor, they're similar insofar as they present Appalachia's poverty as a straightforward, apolitical problem to be solved. This brings us to the last family of explanations one may call critical stories of Appalachian poverty. Without a doubt, the most popular of these critical theories is the internal colony model. Developed in the 1970s, this model likens Appalachia's relationship to the rest of America to that of a colony with its colonizer. Under this theory, out-of-state companies came into the region to exploit its rich natural resources, corrupted local governments to ensure their control, and left ordinary Appalachian people with little to show for it but mined out mountainsides. However, this theory has also drawn its fair share of criticism. The problem with the internal colony model is that it creates too stark an opposition between insiders and outsiders. Once you get an entrenched local elite, they have a very strong interest against economic diversification, said Betsy Taylor in 2019. In other words, the model can hide the role of powerful local actors. Rather than focusing on insiders versus outsiders, Taylor suggests a more useful and accurate explanation for Appalachia's poverty would focus on the unequal access to wealth in the region, especially land. An astonishing 70 to 90% of land in some Appalachian counties is still absentee or corporate land, and a lot of the coal and timber companies lease their land from these corporations. It's the connection between this land grab and local gatekeepers that's important, Taylor said.